Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well, like I said at the long intro, but the folks who see this on replay don't see that intro unless they're watching the live Q&A from last week because I think I forgot to go into the editor and take it out. I'll fix that as soon as I'm done here. Hey, howdy, everybody. It's been a hectic couple of weeks, as you can see. Everything is put together behind me. Today was the first installment of the assembly series. It's not really a build. I didn't design it. It's a giant, as I said in the video this morning, it's like a giant erector set or mechano set if you're over in the UK. And there are a ton of fasteners. I believe I mentioned that before. So, yeah, the notes that I put into the video this afternoon, um, or this morning rather, I definitely mean them. You will need a driver for 4, 5, and 6 millimeter, and you'll need the long reach driver for the 6 millimeter because getting up into those angles to put the extrusion together is a pure son of a gun. So, yeah, they're serious. And like I said in the video, I didn't know that I was going to need a 4 millimeter and 5 millimeter until I got probably on the third fastener for the linear rails running down the sides of the Y. And then it was like, oh my gosh. And like I said, running a little Allen wrench, spinning it around and getting everything tightened down, it wore the old fingers down. So get you one of them. Okay, so the build, basically, I'm finished and it's now ready to start using. I'm going to be getting a spoil board figured out, at least a temporary spoil board figured out. That's going to be one of those work in progress things as I get it built up and as my workflow kind of evolves. I'm going to be adding to or changing around the spoil board. So nothing at first is going to be permanent. But we'll share that adventure along the way as it happens. We're kind of in uncharted territory here, and I don't like to do this at all. I really have a serious philosophical issue with presuming to try to show somebody how to do something I myself am just learning how to do or have never done before. So I'm going to kind of change that up just a little bit in that we're going to learn together. So if I succeed, you'll see it. If I fail, you'll see it. So that's going to be a little bit different for everybody involved. I mean, I'm not so full of myself that I can't admit that I don't know everything and I make a lot of mistakes and you're going to witness them. So, we've got a couple of questions on the build and a few other questions about various and sundry. We'll jump right in with the fuzz. Wants to know when and how did you level the frame? I leveled the frame yesterday and using their suggestions through their instructions. And I can, let's see, I'll bring them up over here. Um, when you get into, now I got to bring back over here and share my screen. There we go. When you get into the instructions, you get into section 8, and section 8 is the final machine setup. And you get down here and do your final assembly, get the name badges on it and everything else. And then you have your next steps for plasmic machines and the next steps for routing machines. And one of them is, well, first you'll mount your spindle or router, do the plug and play VFD setup if you have one. Uh, get your controller software set up. Then you get into machine leveling, squaring, and tramming. And that's what I did yesterday, basically. There's a pro tip video here, and just go down the list and level it, get it squared up, and then get into tramming. And that's what I'll be doing. I'll be shooting the video on that this week because I'm going to do it as they recommend it, and I'm going to go a little bit further. So the short answer was yesterday is when I got it leveled and set. And a little bit on leveling. You're not actually, it's less important to have the table perfectly level, to have the machine perfectly level, than it is to have the two sides of the y-axis coplanar. You don't want them twisted like so. You want them to be on the same plane. So that's mainly what you're shooting for. So if you watch that pro tips video, that's what they focus on, is getting the two sides of the y-axis to where they're both nice and flat, and you don't have them cocked like so, because that will introduce twist in the gantry, and you don't want that. So that's basically the name of that tune on that one there. So let me see. Let me go back here. Kurt says seeing things that are not scripted to be perfect helps others learn as well. Well, it helps me learn. Nothing I do is scripted. Nothing. I just sit down and start talking. When it's a software tutorial, I just sit down, load the software, click record on my recording software, and start talking as if there's somebody sitting next to me. When I'm doing videos like the one earlier today where it's edited footage, I can, excuse me, big sneeze. Man, uh, the when I do an edited video like today, I will go through and edit out parts like where I sit down and scratch my head, or I go over to the toolbox and get searching for a tool or something like that. But when I'm working on it, I basically let it go. But like, for instance, when I was putting things together on this video, I showed putting the y-axis together on this side. I didn't bother showing the other side because it's basically the same, you know. So it's it just kind of threw it all together, and then that dovetails in with Kurt's other question: what software are you using to edit your video? I use a package called Corel Video Studio X10, but I hesitate to recommend it. Um, Years ago, I bought ULead Video Studio, and then and used it just fine. And about 2 years after I bought it, ULead was bought out by Corel, and they did some upgrades and other things to it. And I went ahead and I upgraded from ULead to Corel for a real cheap price. But I'm not really happy with it. It tends to crash a lot. It's why I don't really, I have a hard time recommending it because it does crash a lot. So it's there are so many other software packages out there for video editing that will do everything that what I'm doing and more, so much more, that are free. I mean, HitFilm, um, DaVinci Resolve. There are several software titles out there for editing, but I paid for Corel Video Studio. I use it, and so I'm going to use it. So let's see here. Rick French, can you better explain that Windows file from Avid that I posted today? I haven't had time to dig into it, but at first glance, I was clueless as to its function. Okay. That file was posted over on the Avid CNC users Facebook group. And I saw a question, and 2 or 3 people say, I'm having the same issue. I'm having the same issue. Basically, what it is in running the settings configuration utility, the Avid SCU program that comes with Mach 4 for Avid CNC. While running that utility, it gets into Windows Performance section, and it will get to the part to where it's saving your GPU preferences, and it would lock up, it would freeze. Well, that happened to me about 3 times. So I emailed Avid support. They said it's a common issue they have, not on every Windows 10 unit, but on enough of them. They found a fix for it, and they sent me that PDF file, which shows you how to fix that. So if you have already set up your Avid CNC and you're not having any issues, you've already gone through the SCU program and you're all set, you don't need to worry about it. That's for those people who are having problems. So, and that was me. So, and then when I saw all those other people were having problems as well, I went ahead and I posted it up and then linked it. So, yeah, Rob Schuster says for video editing, DaVinci Resolve is very good. Lots to learn because it's so powerful, but it does a good job. I've heard that from a number of people. There's a number of your favorite YouTube content creators that use DaVinci Resolve. It really is good. It's just, I already have this. It works. It does what I need it to do. So I'll continue to use it. And to be honest, I have downloaded and installed DaVinci Resolve. I just haven't been able to take the time to sit down and learn how to use it. But one day I will upgrade to that. Whoops. Tried to shut it off. There we go. Let's see here. Yes, Michael echoed that. I also use DaVinci and love it. Yes, a lot of people do. So let me see here. We have a couple of Aspire questions. I will get to those. Dan Goris wants to know, have you heard anything on the Vectric update on software 12.0? No. And I can tell you that 12.0 is probably a long ways out because they haven't even released 11.5 yet. So, and I don't know anything more than anybody else. I'm just another guy who uses the software. I'm nobody special. So, you'll find out the same time I find out. So let's see here. David Troncoso, am I butchering your name? Butchering names is my thing. Wants to know, love that you now have my machine. Oh, okay. Are you using Mach 4? Yes, I am. You can see it in the background right there on the big screen. And I'm used to using Mach 3, and Mach 4 is just different enough to matter. So I'm still learning the ins and outs of how to use Mach 4. There's some additional features. Things are hidden behind other menus. Their whole interface layout is different. And the fact that this is Mach 4 for Avid makes it different as well. It's not the same as the standard Mach 4 that ships to everybody else. I'm slowly learning that. And I'm still so new to Mach 4. I don't even know enough to know what I don't know yet. But we'll work through it, and that's part of the learning experience that I was talking about. You're going to see as I learn, as I figure it out. Now, I do have some things figured out. Very few, and I hope I didn't just blast everybody's ears off with the AC when I walked past it. But I can. Oops, nope. I got to enable it first. See, that's one of them right there. You have to enable everything. Then you can move. I can move it. It does work. So that is a good part of that. And something I'm going to have to do, I can see right now, is I'm going to have to move this monitor up one stud, because if I go to home it right now with this monitor pulled out like so, my Z-axis is going to crash into it. I have to kind of push it back out of the way like so. So I need to move this mount up one just to get it ahead of the machine chassis. So let me go ahead and run that back. And there, out of the way. So, but yeah, it's just different enough to work. So, let's see here. Ayal Peleg says, hello from Israel. Sorry for being late. It's my birthday, so with my wife and kids to the Sea of Galilee for a swim. Happy birthday, Ayal. Good to see you drop in. I really appreciate it. I mean, wow. Let's see here. Real quick, like Rick French wants to know, have you picked out a wireless controller yet? Not yet. I have an Xbox 360 controller, and right now I'm researching how to get it hooked up and used in Mach 4. I just haven't got it done yet, but not necessarily wireless. But let's see here. We have a couple of Aspire questions from Robert Dymock and RC Builder. I will get to them. I'm just trying to get this stuff out of the way first. Percy Kuka, happy to see the Heitco Spindle. What KV is it? I'm not sure exactly which one it is. Maybe it'll say. It is 4 horsepower is what Avid says. It is 3.6 kilowatt. So Avid says it's 4 horsepower, but we'll see. I am used to a 2.25 horsepower spindle, or router rather, my old Porter cable, and it's going to be more powerful than that for sure. Let's see here. T. Bunton Tom says, are air-cooled spindles as loud as routers are? No, sir. No, absolutely not. In fact, let me go ahead and turn it on, and you can see. In fact, here's what I'll do. I'll turn on the VFD, turn off the air conditioner, let that quiet down, and we will set the spindle for, let's see, let's set it for 16,000 RPM and turn it on. I don't know if you can hear that or not. That's on 16,000 RPM. My router was easily 10 times louder than that. It's not loud compared to the router at all. And again, I was using a 2.25 horsepower Porter Cable 890 series. And all right, can you hear me? My headset shut off. And no sound. Okay, let's see. Jack Matson says no sound. Audio, yeah, okay. Is the sound back now? Okay, Leo Steger says yes. Jack Matson says yes. Okay, sound is back. Okay, thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate that. I asked 2 questions. I asked if you could hear the spindle, and then I asked, was the sound back? And everybody's saying, yes. Okay, which one? Thank you, though. I got it. Okay. This headset is great, except if it doesn't have any audio coming in, it will shut off every so often. So I may have to go back to using the other if I'm not going to be physically getting up and walking around. And thank you for the reminder, John. I appreciate that. It is going to be louder than the water cooled for sure, but as compared to that Porter Cable 890, much, much quieter. And I think that's just down to it being a brushless motor. So, okay. Let's see. Rob Lemke says, in your video, you used a clip-on mic and it actually sounded better. That's because when I record audio, I use a Zoom H1 digital recorder. You can't see it. It's in my pocket. And I take that audio and run it through an audio processing program called Audacity. And I use a noise gate on it to filter out low-level noises, and then normalize all the audio to a certain level, and then normalize it again in the video editing software so that all of the audio clips are playing back at the same volume. The only real volume issues or audio issues I have to look at are when I add music like today. I try to keep it quiet and in the background, but not so quiet it's an annoyance. So, and I don't like to use music, but I like long periods of silence even less. So, what can you say? Let's see here. So that's why that audio sounds better. Stuart Taylor wants to know, what's the main difference from my old machine to this new machine? There are many. There are numerous differences. The old machine was NEMA 23 425 ounce inch motors. This is NEMA 34 940 inch ounce motors. It is all aluminum construction, heavy duty. The extrusion is made by a company called 8020 back in the Midwest, and it's the Series 40 extrusion, very thick wall, heavy stuff. I mean, just the gantry beam alone, just that piece, without anything else attached to it, just that extrusion, is 47 pounds. The shipping weight of the frame with all the cross members, the gantry without the Z-axis, no spindle, no linear rails, none of that. The shipping weight on that is 377 pounds. It's probably close to 500 pounds sitting there right now with nothing else on it, no spoil board, no nothing. It is a heavy, rigid son of a gun. It It the construction, the rigidity, uh, the motors, the spindle, I mean, the whole thing is completely different. I mean, this is comparing apples to oranges. And not to say that the Gatton CNC was a bad machine, it wasn't. And I still firmly believe that they're the best bang for the buck out there. I have no regrets on building it. I loved it, but it was time to move up, and that was all. That was my entire reason for going with this. It was time to move up. I'm missing out on so many things. Um, let's see here. I will get to these. Let me go ahead and get to these two Aspire questions. Robert and RC Builder have been waiting quite a while. Okay, Robert Dymock says, when doing 3D carving, in the finishing path, you get two choices, 3D finish clear 1 and then 3D finish. This is the order they appear in on the job sheet. Is this the cutting order? The short answer is yes, that is the cutting order. The long answer is requires a little bit of a screen share. So we'll do that. And we'll go over here. And this is what Robert's talking about. Let me go ahead and take his comment off so we can see the whole screen. We have 3D Finish 1 clear, and then we have 3D Finish. And if we go over here into the 3D view and we take a look, 3D Finish 1 clear, I'll put a check mark over here. This is the clearance toolpath that's going to use the larger bit. In this case, a 1/8 inch tapered ball nose. And then the finish is this one here. This is the uses a 1/16 inch tapered ball nose. And this is in the case of rest machining. This comes along and picks up all the detail that this first carve didn't reach. So yes, this is the run order. You would run the clearance first. Then after that is finished, you would come in and run the 3D finish. And so that's how you would get that done. So I hope that answered that question. So let's see here now. Did I answer your question? All right. Let's see here now. We'll get back over to RC Builder. Says, when I do a V carve with no flat depth, everything is great. When I use a flat depth, everything goes wrong. I carved out of the vector lines and all my detail goes away. I would have to see what you're talking about to be able to help. Now, when I use a flat depth, everything goes wrong. Carved out of the vector lines, all my detail goes away. Yeah, I would need to see that file to see what's going on there. There could be a couple of things. Maybe you have additional vectors selected, or I don't know what could be going wrong. Email me and we'll get together and kind of do a little bit of a head scratching session there, because I'm not picturing what you're trying to say. So let's see. Thought so, but then my faith wavered. Hey, happens to me like on any day that ends with Y. It's like, is that how I did that? I don't remember how I did that. Okay. Richard Poulin says, in the Ingle example you just showed, would you go with offset or raster? Well, let me bring it back up. And hello. Let's get back over here. And okay, let me uncheck these. And we'll go into the 2D view and take a look at it. Now, if you look at my readouts down here, okay, and we put up here, put the cursor up here on the top, you can see my Z level, okay? It's 0.67. This is a very deep model, all right? So if we close the preview, go over here into material setup, we can see that the model thickness is 0.68. So if my material is set to the top, you'll notice I still have my XY datum set to the center. And the center of this model is right here. Because this is such a deep model, I would go with offset. His comment is covering the bottom of the screen. Sorry about that. Thank you, Rob. I was talking about the readouts down here. Let me put it back up there. You can see that this lightest area, the Z, is 0.68 inches. And we get down here around to the edges, it is very shallow or very deep out here. So when okay, we'll click OK. And we'll go back over here to the 3D view, go back into the preview screen. And we look at this, what's going to happen is we see how deep that's going to carve. I would do this in offset so that it starts up here in the shallower area of the eagle and then carves it out. Does that make sense? If you went with raster and you started out here, that bit's going to come over and then try to plunge straight down into this area. And that's a lot of material it's going to try to plunge into. So for this particular case, with it being my XYZ set to the center, it's going to plunge in right around in here, which is the shallower area of the model. So that's just one of those things you have to take into consideration when you're figuring this out and when you're figuring how you want to do a 3D model, how you want to carve it. So, okay, let me get out of here. So yes, in that particular case, I would leave my XY datum to the center and I would use the offset method. So, let's see here. Let me go over to, see, Rick French says, I pulled a tip from the Avid Facebook page and added a shelf on the bottom rails. Stiffens the machine even more than it is, but more importantly, it dampens vibration. I do have plans on doing that. And something else here, Rick. Yeah, you can see it. I also added the vertical work holding extrusion. You have the electronics bar over here on this side. There is a second one over here on this side at the same height, and I have another cross member here because I intend on doing some vertical work holding and putting a vertical spoil board. Where, I'm not exactly sure yet. I don't know. I may move this cross member back. I may build a wooden framework in here. I'm not sure yet. That's one of those things that we're going to experiment with. I also intend on putting short shelves across here and some drawers on the side for tools I tend to use on the gantry. And you can see I've already got my miter saw down here. I do plan on putting a a bed down there, a shelf basically. Don't know what material I'm going to use yet, but that's going to be probably in conjunction with the spoil board. I just haven't got there yet. Now, as far as dampening vibration is concerned, something I have been looking into and researching, and I also know this from working with the Gatton CNC and working in Mach 3, and that is acceleration. Um, I don't even know what the acceleration is set to on this just yet, but I do plan on changing it. See, configure. Oh, nope, have to disable first. Again, that's another one. You have to disable it before you can get into. Okay, control and go to motors. Let's check motor 0, which is my X. Okay, the acceleration of the X is 50 and 50 and well, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Um, I've seen some acceleration levels on the configuration for Avid CNCs being somewhere around acceleration of 75 inches per minute. And that's just too fast for what I do. If you're cutting long panels or surfacing slabs or something like that, then it's perfectly fine. But if you have a lot of starts and stops, like in V carving or using a diamond drag bit for engraving or something like that, you want to slow that acceleration down. Rule of thumb is the higher that number on acceleration is, the faster it's going to try to take off to get to speed, and the harder it's going to have to slam on the brakes to slow down. And that's where a lot of vibration and jerking comes in when people are working on smaller projects. So I plan on turning mine down to somewhere around 25 instead of 50 that I saw those on. Some of them, like I said, I've seen 75. I've seen some faster, but just need to slow down the acceleration a little bit. I just haven't done it yet. As I said, I'm still getting into it and playing with it in stock configuration until I learn it a little bit better. So this is going to be an adventure, as I said. So, okay. Yes, the vertical option is going to be cool, but that's going to come a little bit further down the line. I still have to learn how to use it. And that's what I'm in the process of doing now. So let's see here. Excuse me. Real quick and easy, Brooks Martin, is your Avid 4848 going to be on casters? No, no. I do not want that big son of a gun gallivanting around the shop. No. So let's see. Robert Cox says, did you ever consider a benchtop pro? If so, what made up your mind? Um, I briefly considered it, but I prefer a freestanding unit mainly because of limited space. The freestanding unit, I can kind of customize what's going on underneath it. I do have to make some concessions, especially for the vertical work holding. That's why there's not going to be a drawer up in front. I thought seriously about a drawer up in front, but with the vertical work holding right there, that's not an option. Um, but a bench top, I you know, I briefly considered it, but I decided to go with the full freestanding unit, just mainly because I wanted that area dedicated to the CNC and nothing else. I didn't want to end up taking a bunch of stuff out of a workbench and plopping it on top of the CNC, use it for a work surface. I don't like to do that. So, let's see here. Go back and check on these. Richard wants to know, where is the acceleration in Mach 3? It's with motor tuning. So, Les Clemens, who sent me a very cool little item that is going to help me out. And I didn't realize Les was as close as he is. He doesn't live that far away from me. Sent me a very cool. It did it again. My headset shut down. Here's hoping we have sound back. Let me take a look at my settings. I'm going to go back to the other headset. Okay, we should be good. Les Clemens, who lives not too far up the road from me, sent me this cool little goodie that mounts my dial indicator, and it clamps right to the ER20 collet. So now I'll be able to just put this right straight on the spindle, and it puts that dial indicator right underneath the center of the collet, the center of the collet. So you can see less. I did have to modify it just slightly to fit my dial indicator, like I told you, but works like a charm. Thank you very, very much. Uh, anyway, your comment was you have a bench top, but it's not light. Okay, okay. Well, like I say, I don't know. Having never experienced anything firsthand from them, I didn't know if it was a heavy beast or what. So, okay, let's see here. Let's go back. John Lackey says it's a beast. How true are the rails and rack after installation? Very true. I mean, it runs smooth as silk. I mean, and their process was actually pretty ingenious when you stop and think about it. Um, they have these little jigs here. It is like I described in the video. It's a machined piece of aluminum. This portion slips down into that uh, the top slot in the extrusion, and then you tighten it down, and then you use a C-clamp, to clamp that linear rail up against it and hold it there in place. Then go down the line, tighten up the fasteners, and it works like a champ. Do that on both sides of the y-axis, and you're aligned. Then do it on the top rail of the x-axis across the gantry, and you clamp that top rail, fasten it all down nice and snug. Then when you mount the front portion of I guess it would be the z-axis plate, you take it down to one end, snug up a fastener, move it over, snug up a couple of fasteners, move it down to the other end, snug them up, then run it back and forth, snugging fasteners as you go, and it aligns itself perfectly. It was very painless. Relatively painless. I did have a problem on this side with the gear rack, but I mentioned that in the video. I don't know if it was some holes were just slightly out of alignment, or there was a roughness in the extrusion, or just real picky hardware, or what have you. But the gear rack went into this side real easy, and it was, get my head out of the way, a struggle over on this side. And I finally got it, but I think I messed around with that for probably an hour and a half by itself because I was getting frustrated. I finally set it down, walked away from it, and got back to it. And within about 20 minutes, I got it. So, but and then I can't explain it. I don't know. But it eventually worked out. So, let's see here. Uh-oh, look out, Les. Rick French wants to know if you're marketing those that dial indicator mount. I don't know Rick, but he might want to think of it. Okay. And Les answered him. All right. John Lackey says, excellent. When I built mine, get everything true. Took a handful of hair, but finished true. Yes. It slow and methodical. If building the shoestring budget CNC and building the Gatton CNC have taught me anything, and they taught me a lot, but if they taught me anything, they taught me to pay attention to detail and follow the instruction, follow the build plans, follow the build series, follow the illustrations, and do what they say. Don't try to second guess. And pay very close attention to detail, because you may think that a couple of thousandths doesn't matter. Well, it does, especially over a long run. That may be a couple of thousandths back here, but it could be, a 16th of an inch up here. So just very slow and steady and methodical, going back and forth and checking. And I'll be honest, like when it came to leveling, put my 4-foot level diagonally from the Y back here to the front up here and checking level, then flipping it around the other direction and checking level there and making minor adjustments. I can turn a wrench an eighth of a turn all day long. I'm happy doing that. It's no big deal to me. It's the same thing with tramming. I have no issue with adjusting a little here and adjusting a little there. It really doesn't matter. So just slow and steady. Okay, Jay Human wants to know, did you finish your multicolor epoxy pirate? Not yet. And this is why I haven't finished it yet. I didn't want to start it on one machine, then try to finish it on another machine. So I've got a couple of things to do here, then I'm going to get back on it and get that pirate done. So watch this space. Let's see here. I.O. Peleg says, Les Clemens, was the part Mach showed 3D printed? Yes, it is. And if so, what printer? No, boy. And Les replied, this was printed on the Prusa. He has 2 3D printers. Let's see. Chuck Integer says, what type of grease did you put in the linear bearings? The grease Avid shipped with the kit. It came with a little miniature grease gun with the needle adapter and a cartridge of grease. That's what I used. So let's see. RB Woodwork wants to know, what is the make and model of the headset? Let me look here. It is the HyperX Cloud 2 wireless headset. I need to get in and see if I can get it to not shut off after so much. It reads audio coming in, and if it doesn't detect any signals for a certain amount of time, they automatically power down to save battery. And I can see that. I need to get in and see if I can disable that. If there's any way I can disable that. We'll see. So let's see. Richard wants to know, will you make a video on the tramming of this machine? Yes, I will. And spoiler alert, it's going to be a part of a bigger video because the process is exactly the same as what I did on my Gatton CNC. So if you watched that video, it'll be identical to this. That's why I'm not going to do a dedicated video to just that. It's going to be the whole final setup. The only thing I'm not really going to get into is setting up Mach 4, because that is individual. It's based on which machine you have. It's based on any number of things. Each machine is a little bit different. And so, you know, it doesn't make sense for me to get into Mach 4 when most of it is done for you, number one, in the configuration utility, and just follow the directions and click all the right buttons and it's done. So, um, and for the fact that what works for my machine may not work for your machine. So, okay, let's see. Hossam Kiali says, great to see your CNC working. Hope best to work on it. Anyway, I don't know if it would be a good suggestion to try to go with servers. As to your machine, it would be an upgrade, great upgrade in the future. I am a home hobbyist. I really have no need for servo motors. I don't have any need for automatic tool changer or any of the cool bells and whistles. Um, it's, I mean, it would be a cool thing, but for the expense, I don't think it would be worth it to me. I don't think it would be cost effective. So, Peter Van Vliet says, I just mount the dial indicator directly into the chuck with a 1/4-inch bolt going up to the eye of the DI mount. Works pretty well without any extra parts. True, but a subscriber sent me a cool 3D printed part, so you bet I'm going to use it. So, let's see here. Lyrid says, did you consider an Axiom CNC? No, I didn't. And not because I think Axiom is bad. It's just that this was what I wanted. So, see, I think the problem with the headset is it's not having any audio input, therefore it's timing out. Exactly. And I want to see if there's a way I could deactivate that. Let's see. Barring changes to the settings, you could hum show tunes during the conversation lulls. Robert, how long have you been watching my videos? And how long of a lull in conversation have I ever had? I never shut up long enough for the audio output to time out. Even if it's not my live stream, it's audio input, I think, audio coming in. I think it, keeps a running tally and then steps down. So, John Lackey says steppers are great for CNC routing. If you're getting into metal, servo is better. I'm not really getting into metal. I may cut a couple of pieces of aluminum just to say that I've done it, but my primary concern is I'm a hobbyist CNC woodworker. And that's what the emphasis is going to be on. Like I said, I may cut a couple of pieces of aluminum just to do it to get the experience, but I don't have any projects in mind that are going to need some aluminum. I'm not a metal guy. I've been a wood guy my whole life. And metal guys have always had a little bit of magical mystery voodoo attached to them, as far as I'm concerned. And I respect metal guys in that it doesn't matter how little a piece of metal is. A metal guy will find a use for it. It'll be a tab on something. It'll be a connector on something else. Heck, they'll even make a washer out of it. Whereas wood, when it gets down to a certain size, about the only thing it's good for is providing heat. So I've always respected metal. And even then, your scrap, metal guy sawdust has value to it. You can take your swarf to the scrapyard, depending upon what it is, and get money for it. I wish I could get money for sawdust. Doesn't happen. So, okay, let's see. Let's make this the last one here. Bob Dart says, are we going to get a peek inside your control box? Yeah, I'll throw it in a video. I mean, there's not a whole heck of a lot to see in there. I'm not an electronics guy. I'm really not. So it all looks like a map of the human brain to me. It's just a whole jumble of stuff that I don't understand. So, but yeah, I'll put a screenshot in a video. Okay, let's go ahead and call this good for this video. I've already started editing next week's video. We are going to pick up from the risers. We'll put on the gantry, assemble the rack and pinion drives, mount the Z-axis and the spindle. And spoiler alert, I hate these cable tracks, but I got it. And put it into use and get it moving for the first time. So, yeah, Russell, you hit it. The newfangled cabinet of complexity. And I think I'm going to go buy a label maker just for that, to put that on the front of that box. The newfangled cabinet of complexity. I like that. The NFCOC. Perfect. Oh no, Steve D. I just erased a 7-sentence long question about electronics. I am the wrong guy. You want to talk about magical mystery voodoo? I can flip a switch. I can plug stuff in. That's about it. And I know you don't do it in that order. You plug it in, then flip a switch. That's about it. So, okay. Let's let's see here. Steve says, I hope your VFD doesn't trip some random AFCI somewhere. See, that was just Greek to me. I will tell you that it's, well, it's 220 volt. You can see the L6 20 plug right there in the wall, and it's on its own circuit. There's nothing else plugged in on that. And in fact, I've got the controller you can see right there. The controller's plugged into that outlet. That's its own circuit as well. It's not even on the same circuit as the computer. So I believe in protecting things. Okay, we're over an hour. Let's go ahead and stop this. Channel members, tomorrow, Michael Mazalik will be the first ever guest on a members only live stream. I hope you'll be there. 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. It will also be Michael's debut to any kind of live streaming. You're going to do fine, Michael. You got this. You're an old pro. And for the link to the members only live stream, remember to hit the community tab, and you should get a notification. But hit that community tab and you'll find the link. I will see members tomorrow evening. The rest of y'all, I'll see you next week. Y'all take care. Go do something cool. Go have some fun. Get out of here, will ya? I got to go in the house. Bye. Thanks very much and have a good one.